Welcome to SAM Conversation, an online program of South Asia Monitor. Has the substantial earthquake relief to Turkiye, as it is now called, made any difference to Ankara in its approach to India? This is our topic today, for which we have Ms. Aparna Rawal, who has researched quite a bit on this, and she's a scholar who's looking at this and certain other subjects on the national security. It was indeed most touching to see the reaction of Turkish, old, young people to the Indian Armed Forces, Army's ambulance unit. That means one which went and created a hospital there, and certain other, relief units also. It was indeed most touching to see the kind of gratitude that was that the Turkish people felt, and many of their visuals which came on social media went viral. But so far, it doesn't seem to have made any difference to Mr. Erdogan in his approach to India. Mr. Jaishankar and Mevlut Cavusoglu, his counterpart, they had met in September 22 at the United Nations General Assembly, where Mr. Erdogan made a kind of a statement which gave some hope. He lamented on 75 years of poor relations between India and Pakistan, to put it mildly, and hoped for them to improve. But that was soon it soon was proved that it wouldn't, that that this was nothing at all. It meant nothing at all. Aparna, I request you to take on. All yours.
Yes. So in my opinion, like India and Turkey have shared a relation for a very long time. I mean, we share similar cultural values.
Certainly.
Heritage-wise, and also diplomatically to some extent, given that even in like 1920s, during the 1919-1920, when they had the Turkish liberation war in the Balkans, we had a humanitarian aid sent from India. The Indians from the Red Crescent actually provided it under Dr. Ansari, to be more specific. They provided doctors to the wounded soldiers. This has happened before. And if we even go further in the past, there are a lot of correlations in terms of diplomacy, humanitarian aid, so on. But Turkey, time and again, has always shared a very strong affinity towards Pakistan. And at the same time, what has happened in 2021 during COVID-19, Turkey has sent aid to India, while we have done the same post, during the operation.
If I may just very briefly intervene, we have done, India has been very forthcoming in providing aid
Absolutely.
to a number of countries. And
Right.
anyway, yes.
Yes. So in one way, if you look at this is more like a form of proactive diplomacy, winning the hearts of
Yes,
people on the ground.
yes,
But
yes.
strategically, I think India will still exercise caution, regardless. Because at the end of the day, while Turkey shares diplomacy with India, I mean, we have our consulates and embassies in their country, so do they in ours. At the end of the day, Turkey has been aiding Pakistan to a great extent politically, militarily, because it's looking at South Asia as one of the jumboats under Erdogan. Erdogan has his own values, and I'm not talking in terms of the national interest of the Turkey as a country. I'm talking about Erdogan. So he has his own values. He wants to export his own Islamic ideas to this region by actually influencing the youth. Pakistan provides them with the kind of channel that they need to meet the agenda. So, given such a kind of circumstance, I mean, irrespective of what humanitarian aids are being shared in terms of proactive diplomacy, the real agenda that the countries are carrying are quite separate in terms of strategy and so on. So, if we have to look into the aid that India provided now during Operation Dost, on a proactive diplomacy perspective, Turkey went ahead, the foreign envoy, he even went ahead calling India a dost. But the question remains that if you go by the quote, enemy of my enemy is my best friend, the question
He's
is,
my friend.
would Turkey, would India be their best friend in the first place? Now, in the past couple of years, Erdogan, Turkey has made strong statements in the UNGA against India, especially in the Kashmir matter. Last year, people believed that the exchange or dialogue was somewhat milder because, of course, India got the chairmanship of the SCO. We're hosting G20. Turkey has invested in vested interests in G20 and SCO. So, given that, experts believe that the criticism was a little milder. Turkey has consistently helped Pakistan in maintaining this statement that Kashmir should be, the atrocities are happening in Kashmir after the abrogation of 370 and so on. They're following the Pakistani narrative. And as a quid pro quo approach, Pakistan has been supporting them in Cyprus matters and Nagano and that area. So it's a quid pro quo approach. In terms of Azerbaijani support also, Pakistan has managed to win the favor. And with these countries being linked together, I mean, it would be wishful thinking to think that, Turkey could be taken seriously as a friend. I mean, on diplomacy level, yes, we are making changes, but can we say that strategically, militarily, or so on? Turkey has also been known to have its own, not Turkey, I would say Erdogan has his own organization called Sadat. Now, Sadat was created by one of the generals of who actually was fired earlier. Let me be very clear. He was fired by the secular Turkish political government, especially during the issues in Cyprus. This man, who was favored by Erdogan, went ahead, formed the Sadat, and Sadat did the bidding for what the Erdogan political regime wanted. Initially, when we look back prior to Erdogan becoming the president, he came across as a very secular leader, following the philosophy set by Atatürk and all, gained a lot of popularity. And as soon as that was achieved, we see a very different side of Erdogan, where he starts using Sadat, an organization, to join links with like insurgents on the ground, wherever Turkey had its interests. For example, you have Libya, you have Syria. The SNA, the Syrian National Army, joined forces with Sadat. These people were trained and they were sent as insurgents to control certain areas and groups. In such a case, what happens is Turkey has a right for deniability. it clearly states that it has no links with Sadat, but it also goes on to, hold no responsibility, as in forwarding the interest without having accountability. And Sadat recently, who has openly claimed to have links with Erdogan, has made statements since 2021, which was first published in a Greek publication, stating that it would send mercenaries to fight in Palestine and Kashmir. So this first erupted in 2021. This further went on. Come 2022, there was a meeting that Sadat had held, in which we've also seen ministers from Pakistan attending the meeting. Not only that, Sadat had also welcomed this felon, a Kashmiri felon who has served time in federal prison in the US. They have welcomed him also, Ghulam Sayyid Peh. This person has gone ahead talking about comparing the Kashmiri issue to the Ukrainian war. He made statements like, if people can send mercenaries to Ukraine to fight, why can't they do that to Kashmir? Given that the narrative is completely coming from Pakistan. And this person, Sayyid Ghulam, he also is the head of an organization called Kashmir American Council, which, by the
Come
way,
again, please.
is
Kashmir. If you could
Kashmir
repeat
American Council. Kashmir
Kashmir American Council. Huh?
Yes, and it is a known fact that it is funded by ISI. It has been reported by the Americans also. Everybody knows, it's an open secret, that ISI has been funding it. Well, for obvious reasons, because of the narrative. So this person, Fair, was seen to actually be present at the Sadat meetings. He's been favored by the members of Sadat. And if you're favored by the members of Sadat, obviously, through the political regime, there is some kind of favoritism happening as well. So given that, the matter was raised again last year. So it shows a very strong connection between the Turks, these insurgents, insurgents or terrorists, as I might call them. There is a strong connection between all these people, and they are looking to send mercenaries to India. Now, obviously, it is something that would be hard to track, given that they won't come under the garb of Sadat. They would come under the garb of any kind of a group that would be willing to wage any kind of proxy war in India.
Well, as far as that is concerned, the taps in Pakistan and Kashmir have run quite dry as far as supplying or inducting terrorists into Jammu and Kashmir is concerned. But that has not stopped.
No.
The terrorism, attempts at inducting terrorists into Jammu Kashmir has not stopped even after all this period following the abrogation of Rule 370 and 35. It's
right,
and we cannot expect it to, because there are certain actions which we should be taking which we haven't taken to hurt Pakistan enough. But what is alarming is that Turkiye is trying to create a hub of anti-India activity in say Istanbul by offering Istanbul to and it has been inviting some Kashmiri, I suppose, from Kashmiri professional journalists, Kashmiri, and others in the garb of study. Could you throw some light on that?
Sure. So not just Kashmiris, I would like to also place stress on the relation, again, coming back to Pakistan, on the citizens of Pakistan. The citizens of Pakistan are offered a dual citizenship. in Turkey. Given that they are facing a lot of immigration issues, no doubt, but you will see a lot of Pakistanis going abroad to Turkey in the garb of, again, studies, journalism, you name it, whatever seems more fit for, getting a visa. And not only that, not too long ago, even according to certain open CIA reports, a lot of these fighters, like coming from like ISK, even like the Muslim fighters, the Islamist jihadist fighters who are thinking of waging a war against India or China are being trained in Turkey. This had already been published a few years ago. And it is possible that one of the routes that they're using, they're moving towards Turkey to get the training they need. Possibly not staying there, but working under Sadat, the network is huge. Because we also know that to some extent, Haqqanis are also involved in, nurturing some of these networks. Why do I say this? Because at the end of the day, they're all interconnected. Somewhere or the other, when their goals align with one another, they go ahead and do things. Turkey has its own
You're right.
examples.
Unfortunately, the anti-Indian glue
Yes,
has proved to be a little too effective in binding together all kinds of all hues of
absolutely.
terrorists
Yes,
and all kinds of
absolutely.
scum, to get together and unite and create problems for India.
Yes.
And the irony here is that Turkey, as it was known rather than Turkiye, has been a very favorite destination for Indian tourists.
Yes. In total,
And
sir, you would.
the let's say the pre-Erdogan Turkey was, was a very attractive destination for Indians and also people all over the world, but particularly Indians.
Yes.
A number of friends, not only my friends, I'd say people from many professions and walks of life in India, have preferred Turkey as a tourist destination.
Yes. In fact, there are about roughly, according to our external affairs, there are roughly about 3,000 Indians right now residing in Turkey, either working in commercial sectors or, some of them have gone there to study, so on. And this is the recent report that roughly
I
about
see.
3,000
And
are still there
how
in
much
Turkey. Yes.
has it, this, let's say, um, this Erdogan's tenure, has it made a difference to the, and of course, one, after certain incidents, one had started getting the impression that Turkey would not be as safe as it used to be considered earlier.
I would say, so safety depends on how you decide to reside in Turkey. And as long as you meet within the system, I think everybody is fine. We're as good as the Turkish citizens, Because at the end of the day, there have been reports of Erdogan employing their own private Sadat, to even curb elections. He has been known to have his men deployed during elections as well to control them. And from what we also understand, Sadat is now offering 2,000 USD to any fighter who's ready to come to Kashmir and fight. So these people they work under the garb of an organization, but they're like, we have Artesh, the Iranian army. They are like loyal to the government. However, their revolutionary guards are loyal to the political regime. So Sadat is somewhat like the revolutionary guards in this regards. loyalty to Erdogan, not so much to the country. And they were, I mean, even if you check their website out, the English website talks about a company that's working in the defense contracting, some kind of a PMC, also doing consulting. But if you read the messages written in Turkish, it talks about a direct narrative where it's calling the West evil, so on. I mean, the narrative fits like the typical that of a jihadist design.
Uh-huh.
And these people are also tying up with people from like ISI. They have the government officials going to their meetings. So it's fair to say that it's a quid pro quo approach. They both are trying to kill two birds with one stone. Turkey wants to export its jihad. Erdogan wants to influence, have a more impact in India, while Pakistan anyway is waging their Ghazwa Hind against us. And an important thing to mention is there is a NGO that is run across the border from India, Kashmiri borders to be more specific, called IHH, which is run by the Turkish intelligence in Pakistan. They're causing this whole thing where they're attracting the terrorists that were killed they are glorifying the terrorists who were killed in Kashmir by the Indian army as martyrs. They're made into poster children, and kids are indoctrinated from a very early age. And this is happening right across the border. Not to mention, they had links with PFI as well, the Popular Front of India, which has been banned. So given that the networks run deep, it's safe to say that Turkey also has its own hidden agenda in destabilizing India, to be more precise. But on the front, they're trying to warm up to India. Given recently,
could you
yes,
throw a
sir?
little more light on this PFI connection? Because this is one which we don't seem to have dwelt much on. I mean,
Sure, sir.
media, or we don't seem to have heard about it.
Yes. So as we all know, PFI was originally SIMI that was banned. And since then, based on the PFI websites, which were previously prevalent, they were targeting mostly the youth, the Muslim community, the Dalits, and they were also talking about the empowerment of women. So when you look at a website like this, it comes across as a social activism website. But what happens next is it starts gathering the Muslim cadre groups or anybody who is susceptible to their ideologies. They started gathering them, started giving them military training. And not only that, they have a narrative that against the Indian government, political government to be more precise, calling it a fascist, intolerant government. So this cadre has also garnered a lot of support from the countries that want to wage jihad against India. So given this, PFI managed to grow in a big size in India. And some of the funding has been coming from abroad too, specifically ISI. Not to mention even the anti-CAA protests that broke out in India not too long ago were held very closely towards the
Anti
CAA, the
CAA, yes, yes,
citizen,
yes.
yes, the anti-CAA protests that broke out were right near Shaheen Bagh. Interesting enough, right next to the PFI headquarters, which was not only paying the protesters, but also providing the food. When the ED did their investigation, we can see that there were a lot of support coming from abroad as well. Now, on an interesting note, ISIS Khorasan in the region has offered the PFI cadres to join them. This recently made the news. So, I mean, it is very evident where the connections are coming from. Anybody who wants to wage jihad, you attach yourself to a group in India, which is on the same narrative as you. So Ghazwa Hind is already happening, and jihadism is also being spread. And this is not even in the favor. So given all these things happening, I mean, Turkish intelligence also being prevalent on the Pakistani soil. It goes to show that there are two things being touched on. Turkey gets to influence the South Asian youth, while Pakistan gets to wage jihad. Not only that, there are even like roads in Turkey that are named after. There's a road in Turkey named after Jinnah, and there are roads in Pakistan that are named after Atatürk. So many roads. So there's always this give and take of appreciation that we have always seen. However, one of the colleges, universities in India has already given Erdogan, what do you call it, an acknowledgement. They have given him a degree, awarded him a degree as well. Yeah, Jamia Millia, that's the university that has been that has given out. Yeah. So with this happening also, I mean, these are the terrorist routes we're talking about, the different links, and they run deep. The more you will dig, the more you will find. But somehow it's a one full circle, because at the end of the day, they're all interconnected. Now, however, with the G20 meetings happening, India has decided to have a meeting in Srinagar on May 22nd, 24th. This wasn't in the best interest of Pakistan, of course, because this kind of projects India as a normalized area, Kashmir as normalized, which goes against the propaganda Pakistan has been sharing on the international platform, saying that there are atrocities against the Kashmiris at the UNGA. Turkey has been vouching for it too. So with India hosting a meeting, the G20 meeting on 22nd, 24th, in Srinagar, this would project India in a different light. So Pakistan has been seen rallying to Turkey, has been seen rallying to Saudi Arabia and China. Except for China, people are yet to talk about the meeting being held in Srinagar as not so conducive to the narrative. So with this happening, yes, sir.
No, I think you've given us a well-rounded, perspective on exactly what has been going on and what things are expected to be. So
Sure, sir.
I only end by saying that we must, particularly the aspect of this PFI connection, or the inviting of Indians, or Indians or anti-Indians to Turkiye, that must be, there are so many ways. There are so many ways for to prevail upon Turkey to see the light of and meanwhile a very sharp watch must be kept on what is happening, and
absolutely,
and try and attempts be made to prevent anything, because this is a time when India is a very favorite target. A very favorite target of very many, and
absolutely.
we can ill afford any any fresh problems. Anything finally you'd like to add?
I think so. While we can maintain proactive diplomacy, I think we need to exercise more caution. It might not be so that the enemy of our enemy.
Of course.
Yeah.
Good diplomacy,
Yes.
but with absolute caution, no doubt.
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you, Aparna. All the
Thank you
best to
for
you.
having me. Thank you very much.